Hey, I'm Jared Woodcox, author of the young adult fantasy series Shadowcasters. Welcome to episode 1 of my Avatar The Last Airbender rewatch. First thing I gotta say is that intro always hits. When I just hear that, water. Like, I'm just sucked in right away. I love this show so much. I'm so excited to jump back in. One kind of random funny thing is at the end where it says, where Katara's narrating and she says, I believe Aang can save the world.
But I believe Aang can save the world.
When I was watching this in college with my friends, every time after that came up, I would always turn to them and say, me too. So every time when I hear that intro, the I believe Aang can save the world, in my head I always say, me too. So it's just kind of a funny thing. Maybe it'll stick in your head now too. But this episode's really, really good. I love how it starts out with how we meet Katara, how we meet Sokka, and right away we know them so well. I feel like this show is just a masterclass on world building and character development. It really does a fantastic job that, like, I'm only with these characters for a tiny bit of time, but already I feel like I know them. I know what, like, frustrates Katara. I know how Sokka acts about things. I know what motivates Zuko. I love the part where it's talking about Prince Zuko and it says, you know, your father searched for him, your grandfather searched for him, your grandfather searched for him, and none of them found him. And then Zuko's like, well, their honor wasn't at stake. And that, to me, like, that encapsulates Zuko perfectly. Right away, we know, like, what he's up against, how long the search has been taking place, how desperate of a search it really is. So just awesome way of getting the characters introduced. Another thing that I love, and this kind of relates to Shadowcasters, I'll give a little bit more thoughts on my Substack here about, you know, where Avatar The Last Airbender has some cool parallels and cool things that inspired my series that I've written. But I like when Sokka is kind of teasing Katara and is like, oh, it talks about her magic or whatever. And she says, it's not magic, it's waterbending. And I like this because I've never considered shadow casting in my books magic. I mean, I guess you can argue it is. You can argue that bending is magic. But I've always felt like it's actually something more distinct. And so it was kind of justifying and vindicating to me to hear Katara say, it's not magic, it's waterbending, because I've always felt like shadow casting is sort of similar, it's its own thing. So in shadow casters, basically, instead of bending elements, they can form these hand symbols, and with any shadow, they use those predicted hand symbols to summon the creatures and weapons they fight with. So again, I don't feel like it's really magic, it's its own thing, it's shadow casting, it's bending. So loved being reminded of that by watching this episode. Something else I love about just Avatar in general, but it starts really in this episode, is just the scaling of powers. Like, we see Katara, who manages to form this little ball of water and capture the fish, and she's like all excited, like, oh, I got one, I did it. And, you know, we see right away that her powers are so low and so small. And obviously, if you've seen this series before, you know she gets more powerful. And that's what I love about this show, is like the characters really build and grow and advance and get better with their powers. And that's something that's so cool. I love too when Aang is introduced, because right away, you know, we as the viewer know that he's the Avatar, but he makes it very clear that, like, oh, he tries to act like he doesn't know who the Avatar is. He's kind of hiding from that. He's surprised that they don't know any airbenders. And right away, it's kind of setting the stage that Aang is not just this ready-to-go hero, he's ready to save the world. He's a reluctant hero, and of course we'll learn more about that as we keep watching the episodes. But I love kind of this reluctant hero angle of Aang and how early it's explored. Something I love in this episode, and really all of them, is just like the awesome balance of, like, intensity and humor. There's always a perfect balance of humor in Avatar, and that's something that, like, is really near and dear to me. I try to incorporate that in my Shadowcasters books as well. Like, I want you to be, like, excited and have it feel intense, but then the next moment be able to feel like you're laughing around the campfire with friends while you're reading it. And Avatar obviously does an awesome job of this too. The way we meet Zuko is really cool. I feel like there's such a great juxtaposition between, like, Katara kind of making up the waterbending as she goes, like, not really knowing what she's doing. And then you have Zuko, who's training and rigid, and you have his uncle Iroh talking about, like, the strict nature of learning firebending. And it's just really cool. And then, of course, Iroh is just a delight right from the start. Like, we see, like, the funny, lighthearted things about him that we love. And then we see more of his serious side when he's trying to train Zuko. Iroh, I think I'm not alone in saying this, is obviously one of the best characters in the whole show. Love Uncle Iroh. Uncle Iroh is actually one of the inspirations for my character in Shadowcasters, Master Toshio. I always think of Master Toshio as an Iroh meets Dumbledore meets a human version of Yoda, all into one person. One of my favorite parts of this episode, it's a smaller part, so this might be a little bit random, but when Katara and Aang are penguin sledding, I just love the part where Katara is having a blast and she goes, I haven't done this since I was a kid. And Aang just says, you still are a kid. Like, such a tiny moment, but that, like, struck me super hard because, again, going back to this being a masterclass of character development, those two lines say so much about their characters. We see that because of hardship, Katara has really had to grow up really fast, and she's had to leave childhood behind. She's had to be a mother figure for so long. Whereas Aang wants to embrace childhood. He doesn't want to go after his responsibilities. Obviously, I don't mean to spoil anything, but we'll learn later on that he ran away from being the Avatar. And we just see that right away in his like desire to embrace childhood. And so I really love how that helps us learn about their two characters, about Katara's hardship and her like being forced to be in a mother role versus Aang, who wants to run away from responsibility and wants to stay a child. We see that so well right out of the gate. And then, of course, there's Sokka, too, who obviously has to act way more mature than his years. He's supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to be the father figure of leading these young trainees. And again, it's just amazing to see this character development right in the first episode come out so strong. I will say, like, I've always been kind of confused as to why and how the Southern Water Tribe is so tiny. Like, I know I get they were attacked by the Fire Nation. Like, I get it. Like, there's a lot of, like, explanations for it. But it all just seemed a little far-fetched to me. Like, the Northern Water Tribe is, like, massive and has all these cool protections and things like this. And the Southern Water Tribe is, like, 20 people. At least that's what it looks like in the beginning episode there. Anyway, just a random thought. One part I didn't like as much was when Katara and Aang are exploring the Fire Nation ship together, and Katara says, "How long were you in that iceberg?" And Aang says, "I don't know, a few days." And Katara puts it together and she's like, "I think it was more like 100 years." And then Aang is like, 100 years, unbelievable, or something to that effect. And like, if you watched it too, like, I feel like it's just not very smooth and it doesn't really feel believable. Like, if you found out you had been trapped in an iceberg for 100 years, I think you'd take it a lot harder than Aang did. And like, I know Aang is pretty like happy-go-lucky, and as the series goes on, he's going to come to terms more with what being gone for 100 years really means. But even in that moment, like, I just felt like there should have been a little bit more like emotion there of like, no way, I've been gone 100 years. Like, it should have really sunk in, because that's a huge deal, obviously. And I get that, like, they're trying to fit a lot in these short episodes. Like, I get it. But, like, it just felt to me like there should have been a bigger emotion there of Aang realizing, like, what? Wow. Like, how? Like, yes, he was running away from responsibilities. That's why he got trapped in that. That's part of why he got trapped in that iceberg. But, like, I think he would be pretty shocked to realize he'd been in there for 100 years versus this, like, oh, that's unbelievable. Let's carry on, Katara. Like, that was the one kind of gripe I had with the episode, or the biggest gripe. I felt like that could have been a lot more emotional and a lot more meaningful when they realized, hey, it wasn't just a few days. You've been in there for a century. So overall, let's rank this episode now. I'm going to give this one a solid A. Like, it's a really, really good episode. Like, I don't know how you can watch this one and not be intrigued. Like, if anybody watched this and was like, nah, this show's not for me, like, I'd have a hard time believing that, I guess, because, like, it's just so good, and you meet the characters so well. It's intriguing. It ends with this awesome cliffhanger of Zuko, like, seeing the Avatar and saying, "I found the Avatar," and his hiding place. And, like, right away, I wanted to watch the next one, which kind of made me think, like, how do we do this as kids when we couldn't just wait for, we couldn't just, like, watch the next episode immediately. We had to be like, oh, I hope Nickelodeon plays the next one in order tomorrow, like, before we had streaming or DVR. So, kids these days don't know how well they have it. They can just binge watch these episodes right in a row. But yeah, this episode's tremendous. Like, I feel like I already know Sokka and Katara and Aang and Zuko and Iroh, like, just a little bit, but like way more than I think you could expect in a 20-minute episode. And obviously we'll get to know them way more as the series unfolds. But this is just an iconic introduction. Obviously, I love when Aang comes out of the iceberg. We get to meet Appa. You have Katara's anger, like, leading to her, like, doing more with her water bending. There's so many cool little tidbits and hints of awesome things to come that this is just a masterpiece of an episode. The only reason it's not an S tier is because I feel like a few of the jokes don't land, and I know some of them are meant for kids, but even like as a kid, I feel like they wouldn't have landed that well. Like when the Southern Water Tribe cadets have to go to the bathroom, like, okay, or when Appa sneezes on Sokka and he's like kind of reacting. Like, a few of those things didn't quite land for me, and maybe they do for kids, or maybe they would have when I was a kid, but I don't know. I never was into like bathroom jokes or things like that. So that's one of the reasons why it's not an S tier. The only other reason too is like just by the nature of this episode, it's meant to set up the series. And so like I know there's a lot more exciting things to come, whereas this one's sort of building. So I think A is a fair place for it. In hindsight, as I know there's so many great episodes coming up, maybe I'll think a B would be better, but I'm pretty confident with A. I think that like it does its job exceptionally well. It's exciting. It hooks you in. It introduces you to the characters. It's just a really, really great episode and a wonderful start to this series. So those are my thoughts for episode 1 of Avatar, The Boy in the Iceberg. I'm excited to see you all in a few days for the second episode, The Avatar Returns. Make sure you subscribe to my Substack if you like these longer breakdowns of the episodes. I'll be doing more short content on these on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And yeah, excited to rewatch every episode of Avatar with you. Hope you'll join along. Give me your thoughts. What do you disagree with? What do you agree with? And let's have a fun time watching one of the best shows ever made together.